All right, it's Jesse and JD with iHeartRadio. We are here with Ryan Peake of Nickelback, talking about "Hate to Love," the Nickelback documentary. My first question, Ryan, and I hope you can answer this seriously. What is it like to walk around as handsome as you are?
Oh, I don't know how to. Did you notice my Zoom filter? This is my Zoom filter. I don't know
I
what
just
this
don't
is.
understand how a man can be so lucky to be so handsome and so talented, always have something on the go. It's got to be a nice life you're living right now.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. I do appreciate it. That's you could tell me more lies this whole time. I'll take them all. So I'll take them all.
Um, I wanted to start with Hannah in the documentary because it's obviously a big story for Nickelback, a big part of your history. How much do you think growing up in a small town had to do with you guys becoming a successful band? JD and I are both from small towns. There's nothing to do. You got to find something. You guys chose music.
And it's funny how everybody's small town is the same. Like that was the one thing when we were traveling around playing. Everybody, we would talk to at the show, they'd be like, "I gotta get out of this town. I gotta get out of this place." Like everybody has that same feeling. It's interesting. I think being from a small town and playing together when we were younger, you create this bond, and you know the people. You can be in a band with people that are really talented, and if you're not really friends, I mean, who knows how long it could last. Whereas, I think at the time there's three of us from Hannah, and then their cousin was from north of us in Camrose. And then we ultimately had a couple of drummer switches within that kind of group. That the three of us, at the very least, you know each other well, and there's just something that worked. We weren't the most talented guys by any means, but there's just something about when we got together to work that just something worked on stage. There's something that was happening, and you couldn't put a finger on it. But I think that's what helps us in the longevity. Like, maybe we've been around. Like, somebody reminded me the other day, it was almost 30 years. Like, holy man, like that just goes by so fast. It does. But the fact that we've stayed together that long, I think that's kind of a testament to us being, having mutual respect for each other. I mean, we all have issues like anybody else, but maybe it's that just we've known each other since the small town, and we really know each other. So we know when to put some pressure on, to give each other some space. There's a good camaraderie that we've got.
I love the personal connections that the documentary "Hate to Love" shows about you and your band, and your mom, Jim, and Betty. We got to actually meet them at the National Music Center, and they were singing
Yeah.
your praises and how proud of they were of you to JD and I when we met them. I was hoping you could take a second to talk about them and their impact on Nickelback, and would you guys even be around without their support? The documentary kind of makes it sound like without their financial support and them supporting you wanting to be a
Mhm.
musician, it didn't seem like the band would exist without that.
No, that's 100% true. I mean, there's so many elements to this band. Like, when people see acts, it's like the band's hardworking and they get up, whatever act you're talking about, you're like, yeah, of course. I mean, that's, whether it's a overnight sensation or something that's built it, there's always, this web of kind of machinations behind the band, and parts of our career that are absolutely crucial. Like, I mean, I don't know how far back you can go. I wouldn't even be interested in music if my dad didn't play music. He played bass and sang harmony in a cover band for years. He sold cars, during the week. On the weekends, he was playing dances, and I remember falling asleep on stages when he'd be playing music, and I was like, I'm absorbing all of this stuff. And my mom's an amazing singer as well, and so we always had music around the house. He lent us our van to go touring. I mean, and he just lent it to us for like nothing. He said, "You just make sure you pay for the gas and keep the van, and you can use it until you guys are done." We would have gone nowhere. We had no other option for that. The very first pressing of our Hesher EP in '95 or '96, my mother lent us $5,000 to start it. So 5,000 Canadian, that's probably like 25 American. I'm not sure, something like that. But it's that's a Canadian currency joke. Um, but no, like, all pivotal. I mean, and on Chad's and Mike's family is same. They had some backup in a lot of situations as well that helped us, and it's a huge part of what made it happen. So I'm happy they even agreed to be in it. Like, they didn't want to be in front of the camera. My brother didn't want to be at all in front of the camera, and he's responsible for a lot of pivotal moments in our career. So I always thank these guys, to no end, for it's a group effort to kind of get us up to here.
Safe to say they've been paid back.
I would like to think so. I mean, the check's still clearing every month, so it's like no. They've been paid back. They're very much so.
How weird was it to encounter all of the hate that we end up, hearing talked about in this documentary, Ryan? I mean, you bust your asses. We see it in the doc, right? And it must have just been so baffling to, right when you're feeling like celebrating, the hate is starting to come in and starting to show up. That must have been just so confusing, I would think.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the best way to explain it, because it was confusing. There was a disconnect from, I hate using the words, the success we were seeing, the crowd sizes, the album sales, the streaming right now. Like there was no connection between, people hating us en masse, as it appears, to the momentum we had as a band. It was just, we're like, is this real? Is the internet real? I don't know if it's real or not. And it's mostly that, and that's, it's a loud minority sometimes. So I don't know. It was definitely tough to kind of deal with after a while. You largely ignore it. I mean, as you do. I mean, anybody that's in the public eye is going to get some sort of detractors and whatnot, but you largely kind of like ignore that. But at some point you're kind of like, yeah, kind of sucks, and I don't know why it's steamrolling like it is. I think we kind of start to peel the onion a bit in the doc about what we think it is, or some theories, and there's some things that are out of our control, just people kind of being jerks online or whatever it is, and there's some things that are like fair. Okay, the lyrics some people don't like, fine. The songs seem formulaic, fine. You can level that at us. Like, I mean, there's fair criticism, and I'm up for that. But it was the things that kind of didn't make sense, that were just gratuitous, and then it just took on a life of its own. So I was happy that we were about 2 or 3 years into making the doc. Said, do we want to talk about this? Do we actually talk about this? Because we never talk about this. We're pretty quiet on social media. And so we said, well, this is our chance. Let's talk about it. Let's just air it, our perspective on it. And then maybe we can kind of, put that away for now, and then just get back to like playing music and singing songs and enjoying our lives, and hopefully fans enjoying their lives as well.
You figure it brought you guys closer together, as bandmates and brothers? Like, I would assume so. You go through that together, and now, like you alluded to, almost 3 years or 3 decades of Nickelback, right? And that must bring you closer together.
It doesn't, in a way, because you're kind of like your own little gang, where you're like, if somebody tries to kind of take a swipe at you, you do. I mean, you stand up for everybody. But it's also really tough because everybody wants to deal with it in a different way. Some people want to air it and talk about it. Some people never want to talk about it. Like there's, it creates a bit of issue, especially with the press. I mean, it really makes you press aversive. Like you don't want to do, you have an aversion to doing any kind of press whatsoever. It's like, that's not the greatest for somebody, trying to get out the word of a new album or stuff like that. But you start to get gun shy about those things. You're like, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of both, but definitely we all kind of had our backs. If something that's legit, I'm fine with it. If it's just gratuitous and mean, it's easily dismissed. So there's that.
I hate to love the Nickelback documentary. I thought it was so great, just showing the highs and lows of your career. You guys mentioned Banff in the documentary. Can you describe what it was like in those early days with Nickelback, playing in Banff, to what you guys said was literally nobody? And when you guys are playing your sold out stadiums right now, do you ever take a look out in the crowd and remember those days?
I love that we had those days. I don't love those days. I really don't at all, but I love that we had them. It's really perspective building. It really is. And I mean, I think you should be kind of humbled. There's that's a really humbling night when we go to play. I think it was Wild Bills, it was called, in Banff, and literally played the staff. and I think every band probably has a story like that, that's been out there kind of grinding it. But it's great perspective to see, you can, we really had to dig deep in some situations where, you have to really get work the crowd into it. So it makes you who you are. It's like nothing is just easy. It doesn't have to all just, when it's all just easy, it's like, what are your skills? Just to, in the face of kind of adversity, you've got to be able to like do stuff and talk to the crowd, or play a certain song, or change up the mood. Like, it kind of keeps you on your toes. So I'm lucky we've had that. To contrast it, like you said, we just played the Houston rodeo, and it was like 75,000 people. We walked on stage and we did the exact same thing we would have done on stage at Wild Bills and bam, we just went on and played our songs. But at this moment was right for us. Like people were wanting to hear us. So I like where we're at right now, but I love having those as touchstones for sure.
And it wasn't too long after those Banff days and the days when nobody was showing up that you guys released How You Remind Me. And I'm not just saying this for effect in this interview. When I'm watching the doc yesterday, I legitimately got goosebumps with the scene with Chad, strumming the guitar, trying to work out How You Remind Me.
Yeah.
Just knowing how big that song was going to be and still is to this day. I was just interested, obviously that song changed everything for you guys. What does that song mean to you today?
I mean, that's it. That scene you're talking about is we were so lucky someone was running camera. It wasn't me. I think it was our drum tech. That was when we pieced the song together. We were pre-production actually working. Chad had brought it in. We pieced it all together, arranged it. And I was like so amazed when we did that. And even at that point, we're like, it's a good song. Is it a smash hit? You don't know this until you put it out. And then the timing was just right. It was just ready for people. And it introduced us to everywhere. I mean, it cracked everything wide open for us. So what does it mean to me? I mean, it's the biggest handshake to the world that we could have had. And I couldn't be more grateful, to be perfectly honest. I have no problem playing that song every night. No problem.
Did you learn things about your bandmates like through the making of this documentary and in seeing it? Because we both felt like Jesse and I, we feel like we know you guys, and we feel like we've got a pretty keen understanding of everything Nickelback. But man, I learned stuff from that, and I wondered if you did too.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I learned how much Chad doesn't like cameras, so I definitely learned that. Like to what degree? I learned I learned some stuff about Daniel. Actually, when Daniel was talking about his issues, that was relatively recent, and it was pretty we're pretty tight-lipped as a band, but him even more so, it seems. So yeah, I mean, I definitely learned a little bit in that sense. I also learned that Mike loves to talk. Holy man, that guy can go on for hours and hours. But thank God I think he carries this whole thing. He does he's a great job at he comes up with these one-liners and quips. Oh man, it's like, what did he say? He said something about our lawyer. You probably saw our ridiculous lawyer in there with the big sunglasses, and we always pick on him, and he's like, yeah, Jonathan's he's like the Batman of Vancouver, except without all the money and good looks. And that's one of our blooper reels or something, guys. So we got to put that out. I love that stuff. So yeah, you find out a little bit here and there, but I was happy to get what we could out of those guys, out of all of us. Like I said, we don't like to talk very much, so.
That the friction you guys experienced, the hate, for lack of a better word, did it make you more deliberate to not hate other people's music, if that makes sense? To be careful how you approach viewing other people's art and expressing your opinion on it.
So that's also, I think that's a good question. I've had this debate pre the Nickelback hate thing, and it's always been a thing for me, and I don't know why, because I try to empathize with a lot of these people where it's like, I mean, I grew up liking music and not liking music. There's stuff I don't like to listen to. But when someone would go, it's like, for me, it wasn't I hate Spanish. It's like, they suck. And I'm like, stop that. Like, if you heard it on the radio or you heard it on MTV or something like that, somebody likes it. Probably somebody likes it. And they're probably not terrible. You don't like it, that's fair. But to sit there and just go, they suck. I hate this, a bit of a different thing, right? But that always bothered me. And as we started to live through it, absolutely. I think you think about that even more where, I mean, I've had people ask, so you guys get a lot of hate. Who do you guys hate? And I'm just like, stop it. I'm not like, stop it. Because of course there's some music that I've grown probably tired of and I won't listen to anymore, but I'm just like, I've got better things to do than to do that. So I do think it does make you think more about that. Like I said, I previously thought about that. It always bothered me, but it does when you're in this situation. It's like you really can understand. You're like when somebody else says, "Oh, I'm getting a hate," I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, man. Just turn a blind eye to it, and just it's okay." Like I almost try to help them and soothe them. It's like, dude, join the club. I know how you feel. Let's start a support group here.
You know, Ryan, I feel so lucky that growing up, my mom was a huge Nickelback fan. So I never got to even have a chance to hate your band or go along with the internet trends, because I was seeing you guys since I was a little kid with my mom. Every time you guys came to Toronto, I was going to those shows. And to get to know you guys over the years, you know, I sing your praises all the time on the air, and to people when I would hear the, you know, the Nickelback sucks or I hate Nickelback, I always tell them, if you think Nickelback sucks, go see those guys live. You guys legitimately to this day bring it every single time. And I don't think anyone could ever walk into a venue and see Nickelback live and then turn around and say you guys suck. And, you know, that's what I will remember about Nickelback years and years after you guys are gone. And I was wondering for you, you know, what do you hope is left behind, and what people remember about your band when everyone on this call is long gone and all they've got left is the music and this documentary, Hate to Love?
Oh, this is my chance to get cheesy here, because it's like it's the truth. Like that's also like that's a good question, because I put myself in that position. I mean, I grew up listening to music, and how nice is it to listen to music unshamed, right? It's like, and the Bee Gees got it for years. People would shame us, like, they are amazing songwriters. They wrote good songs. You might not like it, but it is what it is. But I just think I don't know, the takeaway is that I hope the music is timeless. That's the goal for any band or any group or any singer, is to hope the music is timeless. But I really do hope that people just have, you know, when I hear a song from a band that's, you know, if they're not playing anymore or they're long gone, they've died or whatever it is, but it's good music. And for me, it's always a bit of a touchstone to a time in my life. Because I'll listen to a song, like, I mean, I'll listen to Everybody Wants to Rule the World, you know, Tears for Fears, and it's like, I may not have seen this band live in years or thought about them, but that song just transports you somewhere. And that's what I hope for. I hope we're like a snapshot in time for people, because that's what it's like for me. I was just telling my wife the other day, I'm like, you know, we watch movies like 2 or 3 times, but songs, I'll listen to a song thousands of times, and I've already heard it, but I listened to it thousands of times. It doesn't have an expiry date. I I just I love how it transports you somewhere, hopefully to a good memory. That's what I hope it is for some people. I hope they listen to a song and go, "Oh, I remember being here," or "I remember this moment," and it makes them feel good. That's the whole idea. That's kind of why we're out here, man.
You guys are playing the Calgary Stampede this year.
We are.
It's probably not fair to ask a guy if he remembers a show way back in 1999. But I will just right here for just a quick second, because
Coca-Cola stage.
I was just going to ask, do you remember playing the Coke stage at Stampede? Because I think that was the last time.
I 100%. It is fair to ask me that question. A lot of other things not fair, because my memory is kind of crap. But I absolutely remember that one. My dad made that happen. My dad used to work at the Calgary Stampede at the Stampede. My dad's a cowboy. He's like a real deal cowboy. And he's like, so he talked to the people at the stage, and he said, "Here's a CD. Thinking, you know, get these guys in here, da da da." And they finally agreed to it. And it took a little bit there was a bit of hesitancy, but they finally agreed. We played it, and I think we got a record for how many people at the place. To be fair, you know, we're from that area. We have people that are from there, so it's like it makes sense for them to, you know, that we would have hopefully a decent crowd there. But man, we were even surprised at the amount of people. And I vividly remember that show. And how it was just insanity for us, because I don't think we felt that much like love from a crowd outdoors like in a long time. And so that was pretty cool. And to come back and do the Saddle Dome and play the last day of the Stampede, it's pretty fun, and it's pretty sweet for the band to be able to do that.
Well, Ryan, July 14th is that show here in Calgary. You're playing with our good friends in the Glorious Sons at the Dome, the final day of Stampede. We've taken the next day off, so hopefully we'll get there. We'll have a couple drinks, we'll party again, and congratulations, man. The documentary was awesome. I hope you guys are very proud of it.
Thank you so much. I totally appreciate it. And thanks for your time today, man. Talking about it. Appreciate it.
Thanks, dude. We appreciate you.
See you, bud.
You betcha.